Welcome to Amintro Family, the podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Sammut. We hope you're enjoying the free online platform and community for family caregivers, be it through the Amintro Family app or amintrofamily.com. It's all about helping those caring for their aging parents and relatives or friends and to connect, share experiences, and access valuable resources. Our guest today is Katharine Perry, president of the Canadian brand Adaptt Apparel, which designs and makes clothing for people of all walks of life, mobility ranges, and cognitive challenges. Katharine, it's great to speak with you. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here, Jeff. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, good to have you. Now, I want to first go back to hearing about your caregiving story, because we describe the kinds of people that you're helping, and you did that in your caregiving journey. Tell us a bit about that.
That's exactly right, Jeff. So the story of Adaptt was born from a caregiving experience. And so I have that behind me. And when I was caring for my parents, both with Alzheimer's and mobility challenges, the nurses said, your father really needs adaptive clothing. And like most of us out there, I had no idea what that was, but you'll do anything for your loved one. So we did a quick little, research on it and realizing that there really wasn't a lot out there. And dignity was extremely, and still is important to us. That's our main focus. So we started designing clothing that is easy and accessible for anyone with any medical mobility challenges. That can be physical or cognitive as well. Now, Dad has since passed, and I'm an active caregiver for my mom with advanced stages of mobility and Alzheimer's as well.
And so there was a time where you were caring for both your parents?
Yes. Yeah, caring for both of them and starting a new business. So,
yeah. Okay. Can we get that out of the way? That was like question 20 that I had on a list of about 20 questions. Let's get that out of the way. Because most of us caregivers are just trying to keep our heads above water. You're starting a business. Can we try to wrap our heads around that? How are you doing that?
Well, it's funny, Jeff, because when someone asked me that, a few months ago, I never even really thought. I was just like, you just do it, right? And I am very fortunate that I come from a large family. So I am one of 6. We're all within this area. We're very much a team, and we are extremely, fortunate for that. And I do have to say that. So, we all go through seasons of where we can give and how much we can give. And I think we work really well as a team that, if now with the business starting to expand and grow in different parts of the world, where I'm able to say, you know what, I'm stepping out for this week, or, and somebody else can jump in. And I know that's not the case for many of us on this caregiving journey. So, that is what has allowed the brand Adaptt to grow. It's important to the family as well, because it's near and dear to them, the story behind how Adaptt was born. Our logo is my mother's thumbprint. It's, my siblings' thumbprint too, right? So they all have a piece of it.
Yeah. How does it feel, to have started this business, to have helped so many people, and you see your clothing empowering so many other people, be it from those that are wearing to those that purchased it for their loved ones, caregivers that you're helping out. But how does it feel to see like your mother wearing the clothing that you designed with such care and with such passion, and how it came from such a great place? How does that feel?
That's, when I walk into the nursing home, after this podcast, I'll be going up to feed her. And often, she's sitting in one of our Adaptt suits. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it lots through this podcast, Jeff. Yeah. Dignity is so important. And see her sitting there. She's proud. Some days she knows me, some days she doesn't. But she feels good and she looks good. To be able to take that and now have a global mission of impact, it's always been about impact and how can we serve on a larger scale. And I just think, I honestly feel we're just getting started, and it's a mission. It's a mission
Yeah.
for the Adaptt brand.
So I want to go back to the time where the doctor says, "Hey, you got to find some clothing for your dad. You got to find some adaptive clothing." And you're like, "I don't even know what that is." And there would be a lot of people that would go and listen to this podcast and be like, "I don't know what that is either." And they're just finding out about what it is right now. And then hopefully saying, "Geez, I got to get some of that," because that can really help. What did you find? Like when you went and you looked for adaptive clothing, you must have found stuff that you could get, but it lacked in various areas. So what did you find?
So, like most of us, when we have something that we're not sure of, we go to chat or we go to Google, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did. So I Googled in our area, and I actually drove. So I live close to Ottawa. So I drove up to Ottawa, found this little store. I can still, it was the corner of downtown Ottawa. And, they were doing the best that they could do with the knowledge that they have, because knowledge is power. I bought the clothing, brought it back. And if you have a loved one in long-term care, the clothing goes through high industrial heat a lot, right? It's not uncommon for your loved one to wear an outfit 3 or 4 times a week. So the clothing went through the high industrial heat, and it came, out looking like it was going to fit a Barbie doll, and then it started to pill. So the quality wasn't there. And then one of the things we're most proud of is the quality. And we get complimented on that all the time. So that was important. And then how does the clothing function? And, an advantage that we have is we're living it day to day. I'm living it. I'm in the nursing homes. I'm in the hospitals. I'm working with the patients, the people, the caregivers that need the clothing. So how we design it to make it easy and accessible is really important. It's hands-on. We're right there in the trenches. So, once we kind of start to have a better understanding, then, I'm a former special education teacher. So by trade for 21 years, I wasn't in the fashion industry, and I've never designed clothing. So we really needed to do a lot of research. And then once we found the right people and connecting, and it took about 18 months to really get the team that we wanted to work with and who we wanted to align with. So there was quite a process to it.
So I would think that in teaching special education, at least from those that I've spoken to that have been in your line of work, that you, every once in a while you might say, "Well, how did you make that happen?" And they go, "Well, you just figure it out." Like, yeah, there's no blueprint for that. We had to make one. Or there's always like, you just kind of make it up as you go along, and then you tell everybody what you did and then hope it's okay. Beg for forgiveness instead of asking for permission. Would you say that in your line of work in teaching special education, that was something that was a big takeaway for you in making adaptive clothing and of being a caregiver as well?
Yeah, it's there's one word that I love to use, Jeff, and it is figure outable. Everything we do is figure outable. So I had no idea how to design clothes. And if I would have waited to have it perfect, we would still be, at ground zero. So everything's figure outable. And then, taking the special education experience that I had was, I really have this underdog empath in me. So it's kind of like a full circle, and it's really, when you start to look at how life has, evolved and it's, connected, my caregiving experience working with these very high need students is exactly my path that I've been guided to today. So, and then I love the word that you used was blueprint. There is no blueprint to life, and there's no blueprint to this. So we basically had to take, and, in order to design our clothing at a manufacturer, you have to have what's called a blueprint or a tech pack. So once we got that, we were able then to go to our manufacturer. But it's never wasted experience, those years working with those students. And even today, we work with, I was at a high needs hospital, Holland and Bloorview last week.
Holland Bloorview. What a special place. It's a magical place.
It's incredible. I just feel so rewarded and, a sense of service and impact when I'm there. And we're actually there every month now. And so that, my years back in teaching is now I'm in these hospitals, and it's just, sometimes I'm speechless how it's all kind of coming together.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, and we've spoken before, and one big takeaway that I had in our last conversation, that's probably been a couple of years now, Katharine, was you said something to the effect of, okay, things normally in life don't often go the way you'd expect. You're going to have to pivot somehow. You're going to have to figure it out, as we talked about. But you talked about how there's opportunity in the unexpected. When, this isn't the way it was supposed to go, a lot of people will think that that's a barrier, that's some kind of wall, that's a hurdle. And you're thinking, no, this is an opportunity. We're going to go about doing something that we thought was going to be easy, that's going to be more difficult, but we're going to figure out a way. And we're going to go, wow, didn't think we needed to do it that way. And that's going to prove beneficial down the road. That there's opportunity there.
There's always opportunity. If you, goodness, on this journey for the last 2.5, 3 years, if we would have stopped at every roadblock, that would have, but it's a big mindset shift. And if you can look at the obstacle as an opportunity and a way to maybe do it differently, and then that's an advantage to you. And that's what, we continuously do every roadblock. And Jeff, you have probably a roadblock today, right? It just seems like it's inevitable that it's going to come. And, I think of, not to go off on a tangent here, Jeff, but your mindset and your mind strength is a huge, huge piece of how you can be of service and impact, right? And if your mind is not strong, it's a tough journey. It's a really tough journey. Yeah.
I'm curious about like this process of, okay, so you figure it out as you go, and you're in the caregiving journey right now. You're a caregiver, and you know others that are caregivers. So you got an article of clothing. You've designed it, and now you've put it on your mom, or somebody has put it on their loved one. And then they have this moment where they go, this is good and everything, but what would be better if we were to have buttons there, or if this were larger, or if we could get a zipper in there. Can you take us to that very moment where you go, oh, that would be good? What's the process like in saying, oh, we're going to yes and this thing, we're going to make it even better? What's the process like in making that happen?
Well, there's 2 steps to that, or probably more, but it's really, it's incredible when we get feedback. And we need to be open to all feedback, good and bad, right? And I really, really encourage that all the time. But as a founder, it's also very important that you just don't jump to everything that someone suggests out there, because it may not align with the clothing that you're trying to design and help the people that really need it, right? So there's kind of twofolds. But also, taking that, so then we do work with our manufacturer. I'm telling you right now, we're constantly tweaking things to make it better. And the story starts from long-term care. But what we've realized, especially in the last year, is that we have long-term care and we also have the medical and rehab space. So the company now is pretty much designed with 2 components to it. So depending on what you need the clothing for, we have lots of people that are going through cancer treatments or, dialysis, and need the easy and accessible clothing to get access to the arm, then, that design is very different than, for example, my mother, who has no overhead mobility. She's coming into clothing that is easy access through the back, right? So the clothing design is very different. And that's really important, that when you, as we're speaking to the audience out here, if what you need the clothing for, make sure that you're buying it with somebody that has designed it specifically for you or for your loved one. Two different places. My mom wears open back, right? So that clothing is meant for her. But somebody that's going through a knee hip joint replacement doesn't need the open back. And we have clothing that is accessible for that.
What about for new moms? Do you have clothing for new moms?
Yeah, so we do our clothing tops that have the zippers on the side. A lot of our moms use them for breastfeeding. Yeah, but we're not in that postpartum type of clothing. That's we're not really in that, but we do have a lot because the clothing doesn't scream I'm wearing adaptive clothing, and that's really important, right? I can wear it. You know, my mom can wear it. It's good for all, and that's inclusivity.
Yeah. So the time where you're looking for adaptive clothing and you're like, oh, I want to see what other people think about this. Do you feel that with Adaptt Apparel that you've kind of created this new community where people can come together and go, hey, you know, I got this is what you need, or this would be great? Or have you found a community in what you've built through the company? So
we're, you know, I love that word community because I think adaptive clothing is still new out there, right? Even, you know, we are building that, and knowledge is power, and we are constantly educating people. And we hear all the time, oh, where was this whenever I was going through this with my, you know, loved one 5 years ago? I had to go to Walmart and buy clothing and cut it. So it's still fairly new. A goal and a vision of ours is that when we walk into any retail space, that adaptive clothing will be there, and it will be readily accessible to everyone. And that's, you know, that community is what we're hoping to build and transfer it into the larger masses. That's really what we would love.
That would be great. I mean, there should be the opportunity for anybody that's walking into any store, clothing store that is, that they can walk in and say, all right, well, is there an adaptive clothing section? Because we would really need that.
Yeah. And, you know, there are a few brands out there that have tried that, and for some reason it doesn't. But you would think in today, you know, we can send people to the moon every day, but we can't get adaptive and easy accessible clothing for everyone out there in retail space, that we have to go to a specialty store. So I hope with our story and our passion and our mission that is something that we're striving for, and that's you know, closer than we think. That that's a reality.
Well, there's going to be more and more caregivers as we all get older, and I think convenience is going to be something that's even more top of mind. I'm surprised it isn't already, to a point where adaptive clothing would be just about anywhere we would go to get clothing. Being a caregiver yourself, how does it feel to have made life easier for other caregivers? Because I know I've gotten a lot of satisfaction since becoming a caregiver to hop on the radio and do a show. It's the way I can help, where it's like, well, this show is a big source of me feeling good about giving back in some way, because I could tell everybody, hey, come and check out so-and-so and what they're saying, and everybody meet Katharine Perry and what she's doing. Oh, it's amazing. That makes me feel good. That's a way I can help. And I walk away from every show feeling very good, that I feel like I've made a difference. If there's somebody listening right now, if you got one listener that it's made their life easier, great. I did my part as a caregiver to kind of help out the community. How does it feel for you to be helping out your community the way you are?
You know what, Jeff? It's some days it's hard to put into words, right? It is the most rewarding and most, I forget the words, how I describe it exactly. It's the hardest loved job, profession, calling, whatever, that I've ever been called upon to do. Yeah. But there is no greater feeling than when I leave, you know, helping someone with adaptive clothing and having that conversation. When I leave the nursing home, I feel so rewarded. And it's not just, you know, I chair my mother's family board of council at her nursing home. So I'm a large voice there. And I'm okay with that, right? But there's that feeling that I'm making a difference. And like you said, if it's just one person, but I go in there and I try and know all the residents and, and make them feel that they're valued and that their voice is being heard. I just think, I'm enjoying the journey. Is hard starting up a new business, right? But it's a very rewarding, and I'm excited for the future. And if we can continue to have impact and make change for those on this journey, caregiving journey is hard. It's really hard, and it's overwhelming when you're in it, right? So, places like your podcast, Jeff, right? People can listen to this and they have now a resource that can help them. We're all doing our part.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. So do you have, I'm sure the last few years or so with Adaptt Apparel has been a little bit of a whirlwind where you do look back and say, I can't believe where we started and where we are right now. Given that, do you look at the next few years and where you want Adaptt Apparel to be and say, all right, this is crystal clear. I know what we want to achieve here. We're going to make it happen, but I know what we want to achieve. Do you have a clear vision on that?
Yeah, we do. We do have a clear vision. I think, you alluded to it at the beginning too, right? Pivoting is essential. And we know the vision and the path, but that may not be the path that we're supposed to be on as well. And very open to making sure that we have a clear mind and not just be in tunnel vision that this is where we're going to go and we're going to get there. If something calls us and pulls us in a direction that is better suited and better aligned with us and means that we can have greater impact and be of greater service, then the company is very open to that. We have some incredible, stuff happening right now, just on the tip, and we're very excited for the future. And it's, but who knows where it can take us. I think we just, we're excited to keep moving forward.
Well, good. And I'm excited to see where you're going to be going, given the path that you've blazed to this point. Well, you can check out adaptapparel.com. Katharine Perry, president of Adaptt Apparel, continued success with all this and for continuing to help caregivers in so many ways, including in small part in joining us on the episode of this podcast. Thank you so much, Katharine, for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff, for your time and all that you do for the caregiving and the world out there. I think we'll stick together and we'll keep spreading the good word.
Absolutely. Happy to. Katharine, thank you so much. I'm Jeff Sammut.
Thanks,
this
Jeff.
has been another episode of Amintro Family, the podcast, which you can hear on the Amintro Family app and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can check out amintrofamily.com. And a reminder, we want to hear your stories on the forum, and we can share them here as well on Amintro Family, the podcast.